mom called me from Breezeway. She drove all the way up there. She sets me up when she's asking. She asked me, I'm gonna do you a nice thing. She's totally rude. So she wanted to ask, you want dinner? I said sure, like I always do. And then she punched me because she stomped on my foot first, like that guy the other night. My mom's just like she stomped my foot in Panera Bread next to Breezeway Motel, where the fastest band from Home Depot, the dinner for the homeless on Lowe's, Home Depot, goes to Breezeway. My mom cooked for fastest. She cooks the Thursday night dinner. My mom cooked for the meals for the homeless here in Kansas. And they used to bring it to Thomasville instead of, that was back then. My mom is gone. So, I had to go to jail because of Morgan Smith, the Breezeway manager, Bruce Harper.
I remember.
Yeah. But Morgan, because she held it against. I forgot not to.
Come on, don't run up.
But she holds it against me. I forgot, and I went to jail because I forgot. I said, "You're not really gonna forget to ask me to hold it against me." I forgot not to ask for cigarettes. She said, "Yes." I went to jail. Officer Wells arrested me at the McDonald's right here at the
Breezeway.
Oh, Officer Wells, I just got out of jail and owed $50 restitution to Virginia because of Morgan Smith. Ruth Harper hired Morgan. The Breezeway, Ruth. The black woman, Morgan, was she put me in jail. I went to jail in the ABC last year with Jane Fonda because of the lady that ran the breeze.
I remember.
The black girl, not remember. Well, I met, but did you understand? I forgot. That's why I went to jail. She held it against me. I'm gonna tell Miss Ruth that you're. I was told not to bum cigarettes. I was 2 days away from payday. I paid $960 a month in that motel. Stop. He was with me. He was. Stop. Let me tell him you were. Robert, out of my, stop interrupting me. It's different. I had a Wells Fargo account, so this black guy robbed me on Fairhaven on Quandra Road. I got robbed by a black guy who stole my wallet and credit card, and my bank blamed it on. I already know it's there. I don't care. I'm late. I don't care. I know.
Okay, Blake.
So I got robbed at the Moon Motel at the title match because I couldn't get up to pee because of my leg 3 years ago. At the 7-Eleven Quandra Road, I was trying to get up, and I couldn't get up from the leg. The manager at 7-Eleven said that night before, lay there. I saved a black woman's life 35 years ago, and I told you that. She worked in 1999, Dr. Hazel operated on my leg, the Redskins doctor. This happened in the year 1999. She worked at Central State Hospital. I lived in a group home in Chesterfield. She was moonlighting, and her husband, because of George Bush, to get an extra job to make money to feed her 6 children that are black. The guy that attacked her was white. He was 6'2". I jumped on his head and wrapped my legs around his neck, and I suplexed him to a floor made out of this sidewalk. And I landed on my kneecap right on top of my knee, and it exploded. So my mom came pick me up. Betty Norris ran that group home, Gateway Homes of Greater Richmond. And that's where Governor Gilmore praised me for naming the Siegel House after Florence Siegel, because Tom Moore's mother, Carol Moore, founded Gateway Homes and RBHA. I went to RBHA, Richmond Behavioral Health Authority. I lived in Richmond. Yeah, I was in the church program in Richmond, where they go like fastest from church to church. And I went to Jackson Ward, the projects, and I got a hug. And James from Lamb Center, don't remember me, he had the shit beat out of me. Jackson Ward's the projects in Richmond. I walk through, I get a hug and a cigarette from a black guy, and that guy goes to Lamb Center, and he lived in the project. I went up on the hill into the slums with a bunch of people, and I was smoking some pot and drinking some Incredible Hulk.
Oh shit!
Just like I did.
Blake.
And I lived in Red Roof Inn, and a bunch of thugs killed a homeless guy because he was homeless in 2007. That's when Barack Obama raised her check, and I lost my eligibility food stamps. And so I went and drank some what's that stuff with the high C or the red drink and Remy or vodka and red drink. I had my boombox, and I said, you know how Mel Gibson, The Truth Comes Out, and he hates Jews, and he said, yeah. I said, well, I'm the same way about black people. I love whether I'm sober or not. I said, can I give you an assalamu alaikum hug? And he said, yeah. I said, you keep my boombox. I paid $60 for a boombox. I gave it to him.
Yes, you did. I remember.
No, you weren't there in 2007 at Red Roof when I had a party with a bunch of black people in their room. And the housekeeper fucked me and turned the black guy down. Yeah, as rarely as my chosen house could have porno bags back in 2007, and I didn't like him, so my housekeeper fixed me up with Esmeralda. I can't remember Roselia, and it wasn't my housekeeper, and she was married. I didn't know it. She knocked on my door 2 in the afternoon. I was watching TV. She knocked on my door, and she came in, and she wanted to have sex with me, but she didn't speak English. But she wrapped her arms around me after opening the door.
17 years, Blake.
And that was in 2007.
Yeah, right.
This was in 2006.
Okay, Blake. What you told me.
I didn't really have sex when it was happening because she took her pants half down, and during work hours, she was the housekeeper. And when she thought I was finished, I couldn't get a hard on because I can't reach her because her pants were down around her knees, and you need to take her clothes all the way. She wouldn't take her clothes all the way off. She had a shirt, and she was married. No, she couldn't. I couldn't get access to her. Because she's got it. I want all my clothes off. I said, I can't speak Spanish. Take all your clothes off. She doesn't understand. She knocked on my door while my door was shut. I was watching the news. So I didn't expect anyone. And she turned a big African American guy. He said, how about me? She's like, no. For me.
Okay,
and I was in a quarter room, a red roof in Alexander by Huntington Metro.
I remember.
Recently, I was at the Brookside by Virginia Lodge. Brookside Motel. It's not your business. I can't finish because I'm a judge. Everybody, when you're around a lot of people, I feel threatened. I foresaw the flash mob in 1979. I'm scared of being mauled on a football team. And in 1979, I scared people would smother me. And so, it's called. And what year does the flash mob happen? 90, 2000. I was 11 years old. I'm afraid of it. No, I was afraid of something. No, I'm saying something is going to smother me. And I used to think of football players on top to get off, I can't breathe. In 1979. Okay, I thought it's a flash mob now. I'm scared of being flash mob. But we didn't call it that. We didn't have snitch laws. That's what I did. You understand? We came here because I snitched to my father. He cheated our mom with Mary. Your mom is so fat, we live in a poop chute. That's Mary. She wore a big yellow, they took a parachute to make a dress for her. She had centipede going on, so she smelled horrible. Like Crohn's disease. My neighbor in Arizona, juveniles died. She had Crohn's disease, she contracted MS, died too much. When I first came here in 1987, 84, a lady died 3 months. You'll walk upright. She died of MS in 3 months. Eugenia is injured because of me. She got injured because Cass wouldn't let me be responsible for my wet bed. I wanted to clean it because my urine was back on the floor and there were long tables and chairs for breakfast. I said, let me clean this urine up. He wouldn't listen. He said, get out now. So I threatened anthrax or ethnic. I said, I believe in ethnic cleansing. And this was like 12 years ago when Cass was the director of this place. Mm-hmm. That guy that got that white guy upset last night, the black guy, Mr. What's his name? You said his name on the video. No, the black guy that had a fight with the white guy last night. He stepped on, he hit me on purpose, Teddy. And he works at Bailey's Crossroads. Rosetta was here last night. That black man that talked to you tonight into, what's her name? Cornelia? No, Monique. That Monique said Mr. something to him, you were laughing. He works at Bailey's Crossroads. He's homeless for the first time. He worked at Bailey's Crossroads in D.C. Homeless shelter back in 1984. This guy works for the system. He's your co-worker. He works for Rosetta. And I got 86 2 months ago from Bailey's for threatening somebody. I got it. No, the little old man, the mustache. He's an employee of Bailey's. But he just, I never seen him. He was working there about a month ago. He's been working there for 20, 30 years. That guy, I'll take you to him. He's an employee like you are. And why is he here not working at Bailey right now? But he worked there 2 weeks ago. He worked there 30 years ago. I met Rosetta 20 years ago.
Keith, you still out there?
No! Rosetta, Darlene Nikki Rodriguez. I used to have her, Rosetta, Mark Brown.
I swear to God.
I
swear to God.
Don't ask her that, she'll hate me.
This man
knows
has
this.
I know you do. He's a good guy.
Yeah, I don't know what's that with him.
Alexander DVD, colleague, Route 1 car wash used to sell go-go shoes in Florida. That's that's Darlin Nikki from Prince. Rosetta was on that clip. That's why I met her 24 years ago at Bailey. I'm like, why would she ever want to work at a homeless shelter when she was a porn star in California for Vivian? That's what she was. That's why I went. No, that was Rosetta. Was a porn star for Vivian. Rosetta here. Rosetta's here last night.
How did you find that?
I used to have her DVDs. And I know her face. And I know who Mark Brown is. And Darlin Nikki was a porn star that Prince sang in Purple Rain. I knew a girl named Nikki. Her name was Nikki Rodriguez. And I lived in 2007 at Comfort Inn and went to PLS in Alexandria where I met Natasha Miller. And she said I had a big dick. Because she went to PRS.
And thank you,
The reason we got kicked out for having sex on the property, and Jeff is not supposed to tell me. Jeff said she was like Natasha and me. And Tom Shipley kicked me out of there, and Michael ended up here in this shelter 5 years ago with Cornelia. What's her name? Cornelia. Michael was the guy that worked at PRS. He gave you a shower on Woodlawn by the fastest. PRS of Alexandria, Sacramento Drive. Michael was here. He was he ended up homeless here. Stephen, the Huntington bus driver for Alexandria Huntington Metro, ended up here with me. My grandmother lived in Lake Ridge. And what's his name that worked? Okay. His grandmother lived in a nursing home. My mom and I went to Bob Evans. This guy is from Ethiopia. He was a waiter there. He ended up at Bailey's Crossroads with me last year and remembered me from 20 years ago, my grandmother and my mother, because my mom got custody of grandma in Chase City. My grandmother lives in Lunenburg County next to Mecklenburg and the Fort Mitchell Tower, Berry Hill. Chase City, Mecklenburg County, Virginia.
Oh,
Lunenburg County.
That's like Western Virginia.
No, it's near Richmond. It's near Berry Hill.
Oh, okay.
The Ivory Girl soap commercial. Remember the Ivory Girl? I use Ivory soap.
Yeah.
Berry Hill is a girl on the Ivory commercial in the 1970s. Ivory soap is my grandmother was in Chase City near the Fort Mitchell Tower. Chase City. They don't have nothing that like forced me to drive her car. I don't want to drive a car. She said, you have to. And sometime I drove a 6-inch truck when I was 14. My mom was born in Richmond. She's not my real mom. She was born in Richmond. Her first name was not Helen. Then she
So is your real mom?
Her parents hated Jews. She was going to marry the World Trade Center guy that got knocked down. He built the Trade Center, Howard Abel in New York.
Okay.
Sears with the Taliban. She was engaged to marry a Jew. Her parents hated Jews. She was 23, so she obeyed her racist parents instead of marrying him. My grandmother was at my aunt's house. She said, you need to stay away from them niggas. I said, they're great. She believes that black people came from hell with the Holy Christian Bible. God hates black people. She says, I'll show you in the Bible where black people rose from the ground, he rose up through the ground from hell in the flesh. She thinks that African Americans is hell. I know what she's saying. She's talking about Almond Spiegel. She thinks it's African Americans and that you should hang out with your own kind of white people. I hate my grandmother. I'm going to argue. I'm going to argue with her because she's the one that forbade you to marry Howard Abel. He built Trump Plaza. He built Rockefeller Plaza today. Half of Manhattan was Howard Abel. He was Jewish, and my mom Helen was just young that moved to California. She was supposed to marry him, and her parents were racist. And her grandmother lived in Chase City. She got custody and went Lake Ridge, Westminster nursing home. Near the Tax Mill Shopping Center. Okay, so next door neighbor was Mrs. Paul. She said, your grandma's so nice. And she said, how do you know Paul's a Jewish name? My grandma's next door neighbor is Jewish. So, Mrs. Paul, you're a sweet Jew. How do you know I'm Jewish? Because my grandma hates you. You know, she hates Howard Abel, and you're Jewish. Paul's a Jewish name. Her name is Mrs. Paul. She was my grandma's next door neighbor was Jewish. Like the nursing home there. So my grandma hated her, and she said, your grandma Mrs. Davis is so nice. Her name is Neva Davis. That's my mom's mother. They wouldn't let her marry Howard Abel. They built the Sears Twin Towers. I'm talking about 9/11. The Sears. He built it in 1959 with 11 architects. He was an architect of skyscrapers in New York. He was Jewish, and my mom was his fiance that lived right across from here. That sold her house and moved to. Remember? That's why I went for my benefits. So. her friend picked her up with Bob, my stepdad. And this was in 1959 too. They courted 2 years, got married in 61. I was born in 68. I was their first child. They adopted me. They didn't have any children. They picked me out of Erlanger Hospital. I had 40 kids. They handpicked me. Then they made their own children, Bert. But when she was pregnant with Bobby, he was a mistake. She was 6 months, but she called him an accident mistake. And this was in Nixon's era, and we're afraid of the phone company because of monopoly. The phone company was about to make America communist. It was Ma Bell, 99% monopoly on the stock market. Nancy Pelosi shut it down. Nancy Pelosi was 25 years old. Joe Biden was Richard Nixon's advisor at Lee Watergate. And Biden was the advisor to President Nixon. He was 24-year-old Joe Biden, and he's 92. Nixon was president. Yes, because he got elected. He became president 2 years ago. He's already halfway through his first 4-year term. When he came in office, he was 88. Reagan was 88 when he left. Biden got elected. The inauguration of Joe Biden, 88 years old. That was 4 years. I would say 4 years ago. He's 92. So his first term's done. Now the elections are about to be held for a second term with Matthew McConaughey's running. He's winning. The actor Matthew McConaughey yes, he's been running for years. So I lived in Clarion Inn, and for Sentinel was 2 years ago. I watched him get inaugurated. I told the staff that I came here because my birthday was when Trump became president. I was in Motel 6 in Phoenix, Arizona, 58 by the Cardinals Training Center. The Arizona Cardinals was right around the corner. I was at the Motel 6 where Beckham was landing. I overslept and missed the Trump inauguration. That was my birthday. The Trump inauguration was my birthday inauguration day. Every year. I was born but except Nixon was 69. Johnson was president when I was born. President Lyndon B. Johnson, because Kennedy was shot. So Johnson was Lyndon B. Johnson was our president. Dionne Warwick, Do You Know the Way to San Jose was the #1 song. Idi Amin controlled Africa. The guy that Forrest Whitaker from Good Morning Vietnam, opposite the black guy named Robin Williams, he played Idi Amin on TV. Okay. Shaw ran Iraq, a woman, Shaw, not the Shaw ran. 1968, Iraq was run by a woman. They ousted her, but voted for Saddam Hussein by a landslide in 1968 elections of Iraq.
1968.
Yep. It was a woman that ran Iraq. The people hated her. They almost turned her in Iraq. In 1979, the Shah of Iran was shot, and Ayatollah Khomeini had 40 American citizens held hostage. Remember? I was 11. This is 2 years before we moved. Jimmy Carter's the hostage situation at Tehran. Okay. So I'm talking about what happened. That President Reagan told Oliver North to trade bombs for hostages. That when George Bush said we won't bargain with terrorists, Reagan bargained with terrorists. We had a grain embargo. That means oats, oatmeal, grains like barley. And Iran wanted grain. We had a surplus. All they had to do was get rid of Trump about terrorism. Deal with Iran. Ayatollah Khomeini was the leader of Iran. They had a citizens held hostage in the U.S. Embassy in Tehran. So Oliver North gave them bombs to trade. They didn't want bombs, but they didn't want money. He offered money and gold. Reagan and North. Remember the Oliver North trial? That was Fawn Hall was the secretary. What she shredded in that shredder was evidence to prove I'm right. Oliver North was a terrorist. Ronald Reagan was a terrorist. That was the biggest terrorist act in the United States ever. It was 1980. The Gulf War started. After that, we got the Hummer and the Humvee from the Russians. They got that from Germany. Hummer was a German. Hummer was a tank.